Hello and welcome into another Pulse exclusive. We're here today with Miss Carlee Gray, who, in what could have, should have, would have been one of the most exciting times of her life, 36 weeks pregnant, just about to welcome. She found out just this last week that she was positive for the COVID virus, the coronavirus, the very first positive case at St. Mary's here in Russellville, and we're honored to have her in from the hospital right here. Miss Carlee, how are you doing?
Today I'm doing pretty good.
Well, just wanted to that you're well enough to talk to us, and we so appreciate that. But then the fact that not only were you the first positive case, but also pregnant, and just to get things out of the way from the very beginning, obviously you're feeling well enough to visit with us. The baby's okay?
Yes, the baby's doing really good. For 36 weeks, he's doing really good.
Good. Well, I was reading your Facebook, and I thought it was really neat to see pictures of little Ramsey Cade. I guess the fourth one of your family?
Yeah, fourth, and this will be the last.
The very last. Well, would you walk us through what, I'm sure is an incredibly whirlwind week for you and your family? You, as we mentioned, 36 weeks pregnant, and I asked you just before we went live here, were you sick first and then you felt like you needed to go to the hospital, and the baby comes then, or were, and you said that it was that you were feeling a little under the weather and then baby comes. So would you walk us through what that experience has been like?
Yeah, well, I started out, I was getting ready to go back to work. I've been on leave because I got sick earlier this month. And then I came because I thought probably got the flu, something. And they ended up testing me at the triage center for the COVID-19. And then I was home for a day. And then it just got worse really fast. And my doctor wanted me to come into the emergency room because I was having a really hard time breathing. My husband actually had to make phone calls for me because I couldn't talk long enough to do it. So then I got here, and it wasn't long. They said, "You're not going home for a little while." And I've been up in the ICU for a little while. And that was on Monday I was here. Yeah, I came here on Monday. My days are a little mixed up.
I imagine.
Yeah. And then at night, it seemed like I kept getting worse until April 1st. That night, I got really sick. I don't know. I woke up. I couldn't breathe. I was having a really hard time with coughing, and they decided it was time that we needed to do a C-section pretty quickly, so that way the baby wasn't under stress and hopefully I could heal. So I had him. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I had him on.
You don't have to apologize to us, I promise.
Well, I'll get the coughing and I'll have to take a break. But on April 2nd, early in the morning, I went through a C-section, and we had Ramsey, and that was an experience all on its own. I've never had a C-section with my other kids. So that's how we got here. But I'm improving. After I had him, I've started to show improvement.
Well, good. What were your symptoms like? I mean, we've not been able to speak to anybody who has tested positive, and so we really don't know. And obviously, there's a lot of different symptoms, and then some people are even asymptomatic. We'll get to that later. But what were symptoms like?
Mine started out just like a fever that wouldn't go away, and I was coughing a lot, and I was like, well, I don't know, the baby's pushing on my lungs. I started out making excuses for my symptoms, but I started to feel nauseous and headaches and lightheaded, but then you think it's the flu, and all of a sudden it gets a lot worse. For me, it did. I would get to where if I breathed, like my whole chest would hurt. It would burn. I couldn't hardly take a deep breath at all. This is actually the most I talked at once and not run out of breath. But a lot of it's just harder breathing and a lot of coughing.
Yeah, man. Well, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to visit with us, and I won't keep you too much longer because I don't want you to have to spend all your air on us, but we do feel like it's somewhat important for people to kind of understand the severity of this, the fact that it is real and it is here, and also to kind of hear about some of the symptoms as well. I imagine, and I'd love to hear from you about this, that it's not easy to deal with this and have to be away and separate from your family. And I imagine it's even harder with a brand new baby. I apologize for having to ask this question, but
No.
what are your emotions like when you have to go through this and also be separate from your brand new baby and your family?
Honestly, it's hard. When they first told me that I was positive, and I knew going into C-section, I wasn't going to get to see him for a little while. I got to see him for probably less than 30 seconds, and they took him away for his safety. But when they told me that I was positive, I couldn't do it. I broke down. I cried a lot. I've cried a lot during a lot of this, but I've had a time. You're in here for a lot of hours by yourself, so I've had a lot of time to think about it and pray about it. And if it wasn't for the Lord and people I don't even know praying for me too, I don't know that I'd be able to get through it at all. I just have to remind myself that He's in control, and He's going to heal me, and He's going to bring my family back together. So, but thankfully I get to see pictures of Ramsey every day.
That's awesome. Well,
that makes it a little easier.
Have they been taking care of you and the baby up there at St. Mary's?
Oh, they have been doing a fantastic job. The ladies in the nursery, they take pictures for me every day. They get to FaceTime me, and I'll get to see him. You know, it seems a little silly, but see him sucking on his passy or drinking his bottle, and those little things that I should be able to do by myself, I get to at least get to watch him. And I know they're spoiling him, and I hope they keep spoiling him. But the nurses up here, there have been some fantastic nurses, you know, hit that call out, and it takes them half a day to get dressed just to be able to come into my room.
No.
So if you ever get isolated, don't expect anything in a hurry, because they've got all these garments they've got to wear, so I don't give it to them. That's the last thing I want. But anything I need. And the labor and delivery nurses, I was out of everybody's comfort zone, but everybody's went above and beyond to take care of me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I mentioned the different symptoms, including the symptoms that you've had, but also that other people are asymptomatic. And it turns out that the second patient who was positive for coronavirus at St. Mary's Hospital is your husband.
Talk about luck.
Man.
We don't have it right now. Yeah.
Man, is he doing okay?
Yeah, he has no symptoms at all. He's at home taking care of our other three, or they're taking care of him one. We'll see when I get home how that went. But yeah. He's not shown any, not even a cough. You know, he thought he was doing well. And, you know, who knows? He might show symptoms later, but right now he's not shown any, and he's been around me up until I came here.
Are they having him do anything specific or special to make sure that nobody else gets it?
Yes, he's under the same quarantine. Except for his is at home. But he's not leaving the house. We have people that'll drop stuff off for us, and they'll just leave it out in our car, and whenever they leave, he'll go get it. He sanitizes a lot at the house. I do know he's doing that, because that's our biggest defense. That and staying home and keeping sanitized and cleaned up is the only things you can really do. Like, you could be walking around and give it to somebody who ends up like I do, and you never even show a symptom at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you one final question. I guess just about your thoughts on this. You know, if 2 months ago we didn't even know this was a thing. We didn't even know that this was a possibility. What would you say to people about this experience, and maybe some advice you might give them?
You don't. If you can avoid it, don't go out. I know it's I know it stinks cooking almost every meal at home, and it stinks having to be away from your loved ones. I know how much that stinks. I don't have a choice. But if you do have the choice, please, please stay home. Because you never know, it could be your loved one that's the next one here, and it may be the last time you see them. Like, I'm not the worst case there's been. I'm not the easiest case there's been. But please stay home. It's hard, but don't make it impossible for others. Like now, I may be 2 more weeks before I can see my baby because however I caught it, somebody didn't want to stay home, and I was that person that didn't stay home apparently because I caught it. So stay home is the best thing you can do, and wash your hands.
Wash your hands. I've got a problem with touching my face. I do that way too much, I've noticed. So. Well, Carlee, thank you for visiting with us. We so appreciate your time, and we hope you get to feeling better. It's good that you're, as you mentioned, not the worst case in the world yet. Hopefully it doesn't get any worse. It progresses the positive way so you can get back to seeing your family and
Yes.
your babies. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.